Point of view. You were on Reformation's website looking at all the clothes you couldn't buy with the $6.89 in your bank account. Maybe this is a little bit specific, but good thing you came across this video. This is the dress that we'll be making a better version of, and its key features are A, this bow tie thing to make the boobie area tighter or looser, and B, this tiny V slit thing it's got going on. You may be asking yourself why my version is better. Well, I'm adding pockets because they're super convenient and I hate carrying around purses. My chest is 36 inches, my waist is 29, and my hips are 38, so here are the measurements and the patterns I concocted after much trial and error. You can take a screenshot now if you want to remake this to see the seam allowance and how much space I added compared to my actual measurements. If the measurements here don't match the measurements in the video, that's because I altered some along the way. Now let's finally get to the execution. So the first thing I did for the top was iron down the armpit area to make the side seams. And the fact that I'm not ironing at an ironing table may cross your mind. I was just too lazy to get it. Next, I made the little slit on the neckline, and the tutorial I used to do this, as well as all the tutorials that helped me make this dress, will be in the description box down below. I'll try my best to re-explain this one because I found it to be a little confusing and it took me like an hour to understand it. Maybe I'm just slow, but I don't know. That was confusing to me. So the first thing I did was mark the center of my neckline for reference. And you'll need to cut out a small rectangle that's 1 inch wide and the length of your V, plus the seam allowance, plus an extra ½ inch. I forgot how much I made mine, but I'll put it somewhere on the screen. Next, I did a zigzag stitch on the top and the sides to get rid of the raw edges. After that, I drew a line down the middle of the rectangle, and I drew another line marking the 1/2 inch that we added to the length of the small rectangle. I pinned that piece of fabric. The right side of the shirt was facing up and the right side of the rectangle was facing the shirt, if that makes sense. Then I sewed to the side of the midline until I reached that ½ inch line, turned 90 degrees, sewed exactly 2 stitches, turned 90 degrees again, and sewed all the way to the top of the rectangle. Next, I carefully cut it between the 2 lines that I just sewed, and right before I got to the bottom, I cut a small V, turned the fabric inside out, ironed it down. I sewed around the V and I was done, and I hope that made sense. It was probably confusing, I'm sorry if it was. If you're remaking this, I would definitely advise you to practice this on some scrap pieces of fabric before doing it on the real thing. Next, I made 4 straps and I used 2 of them for the bow tie thing. I cut out like 1½ inch pieces maybe, and I ironed them down, so at the end I had this, and then I just secured everything with a straight stitch. Next, I needed to sew a casing for my bow tie strings, so I ironed down about 1/4 inch of my neckline and then about 3/4 of an inch. I'm not sure exactly how much it was, I just needed to make sure that the casing would be able to fit my bow tie strings. And then I sewed everything in place as closely to the edge as possible to give the bow tie strings as much room as possible. Then I feeded the bow tie strings in using a safety pin, and once they reached the end of the casing, I just pinned that in place and used a straight stitch to secure the string. At this point, I also pinned down the straps in the corner of the top as well, and I used a zigzag stitch and went over it a couple of times to make sure that the strap was really secure. Give yourself a pat on the back because if you made it this far, then you've gotten past the hardest part. This was definitely the hardest part of the shirt. I spent an entire day trying to figure it out and making errors, but I eventually got it down. And since the strings were too long, I tied a bow to figure out the length they needed to be cut at. So now we have a semi-functioning top, and all I had to do at this point was sew the back pieces to the front piece of the top, which was pretty easy. And I used a zigzag stitch on the raw edges. So after this, I started the skirt. I used the mini skirt to help me with the shape. And don't make the same mistake I did. Make sure that your skirt is shaped like this and not like that. And once I had my two pieces for the skirt, I cut the back piece in half so that I could add a zipper to it. And then I did the pocket. So I traced the pattern on paper first so that I would be able to use the same measurements for different garments. And then I just cut out 4 pieces. And I'll leave a tutorial for the pockets in the description box down below as well. I pinned the pockets about 6 inches down my skirt, but I would recommend only doing it about 5 or 4 inches. I feel like it would just sit more comfortably. And after they're all pinned down, I sewed the pockets to the skirt using about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I ironed the seams out. I pinned the skirt together and I sewed around the edges using a seam allowance greater than 1/2. It doesn't really matter what the seam allowance is, it just needs to be more than 1/2, except when you're sewing together the actual pockets. And to finish it off, I just sewed the raw edges with a zigzag stitch. Although it seems like everything was going really smoothly so far, this is when I realized I fucked up, and I'll play that clip. So it's 11:29 p.m. right now, and I've been doing this all day. And I finished the skirt. I was ready to pin the bottom to the top, and then I look at the top, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Oh my god, I feel like crying. I'm not going to, but I really feel like crying and just giving up. Basically, I had made a top yesterday that didn't work out, so I've been using that top for like scrap pieces. So I thought that I grabbed the other top I made yesterday and I was gonna cut out the pocket with it, but I used my real good top that I was so proud of. Like, I was so proud of this, and I just cut it because I'm a dumbass bitch and I don't look at what I'm cutting clearly. Like, come on, like, how stupid am I? It looked so good. I'm so sorry, I'm so stupid. Yeah, I'm so frustrated right now because I was so excited to put it together, but I'm just gonna remake the top. I'm probably just gonna cut out these straps and reuse them. And I'll be back when I have the top ready.
Later that same evening.
So I'm back and I'm done making the top portion of the dress, and it is currently 1:30 a.m. It basically looks the same as before. And this is what the skirt looks like right now. Everything's put together. So first of all, I can tell that the skirt will be kind of tight around my ass. I think I'll be able to get it on, but oh, you guys can't even see it. Hold on. Yeah, I'll be able to like get it on, but it's gonna be tight, and I like having room. I'm really surprised that this doesn't fit over my refrigerator ass. But yeah, if I put it around, as you can see, it's gonna like barely fit and be tight. So I'm going to add more fabric to it, and because this is gingham and it already has lines, I'll be able to make it really seamless. So that is no problem. So the second thing is the skirt is way too big around my waist, which I kind of predicted because I made the measurements big. It has 2 darts on the front sides and 2 darts on the back side. This will help snatch my waist, but I have never made darts before, so I really don't want to screw up the skirt. And the last thing to do after that is just fix all the raw edges and sew on the zipper and attach the straps to the back, and then I'm done. I guess that's more than 3 things, but so I'm basically just gonna go in that order. So it's now day 3. It's 1:43 p.m. I didn't finish yesterday because I got super tired. I have the skirt piece and I put 4 darts in it, 2 at the front, as you can see, and 2 at the back. I haven't actually sewn it yet, which is what I'm about to do. The tutorial that I used will be in the description box because I already know this video is probably too long. So anyways, I'm just gonna sew these darts in, attach the shirt to the skirt, and then I'll come back to do the zipper with you guys. And then I'll be done. So for the zipper, I'm basically just ironing out 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I measured how far the zipper goes down my dress and sewed until that point. I then pinned the zipper to the seams and sewed around the zipper. This was really hard because I don't have a zipper foot, so the lines ended up looking really weird and they weren't straight at all, but I'll leave the tutorial that I used in the description box down below. I haven't attached straps to the back yet, but as you can see, there are problems. And if I'm gonna replicate a $258 dress, I'm at least gonna do it right, okay? So I'm probably gonna take apart the dress and do a couple adjustments. But basically, I wanted the skirt to start at my waist. This starts at like almost my hips, so I need to move it up a couple inches because this like proportion, it's just not doing it. Second of all, the waist is too big. I don't even know why I'm surprised because I just made everything a couple inches bigger just in case because I didn't want to mess up. But yeah, the waist turned out too big, so I need to take maybe like 2 inches from the waist. Oh yeah, also the dress is a little bit long. I haven't hemmed the bottom, but it's almost knee length, which I don't like. So I'm going to bring this maybe like 2 to 3 inches higher. That way it's a good length, and I'm probably gonna hem the bottom a couple inches up as well because I want it like here. And yeah, I'm not gonna waste any more time. I'm just gonna come back when the dress is completely finished. In the end, this is what the dress looked like, and I'm so excited because I can't believe I actually did that. Like, guys, it actually looks good and it's wearable. I'm honestly so proud of myself. I put blood, sweat, and tears into this, and I got burned by the iron, so the fact that this dress looks low-key store-bought when you're not looking at the zipper makes me really, really happy. Thank you to all of my 87 subscribers, and I'm trying to reach 100 subs before August, so subscribe if you want to help me out. Comment down below any other super expensive clothes that I should remake on a budget, and I'll see y'all in exactly 2 days. Bye!